This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, a weekly broadcast that breaks down each Eagles game better than anyone else. The Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show is broadcasting live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken and is heard on both 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and is brought to you by the Great American Pub, Independence Blue Cross, Penn Community Bank, Fogo de Show, and Hand and Stone Spa. We now go live to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
And welcome, everybody, to the beautiful Great American Pub in Conshohocken, where we are happy to be every Monday night at 6, which is now, for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show right here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM. Recapping the Eagles game last week, looking forward to the Rams this week. My co-host tonight, as always, he wrote a book, is writing a book about Sam Mills. We'll talk about another guy who wrote a great article with our guest as well. We'll leave you cryptic for that right now, but we'll tell you that his name is Paul Domowitch. How are you, Domo?
Doing great, Jolly. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Pleasure to be here after the Eagles win 6 in a row. And we got a great guest who was a tight end on the Eagles Super Bowl team in 1980. Also played for the Philadelphia Stars, who are being honored for the 40th anniversary of their championship by the sports writers this January. Also, off-season, I didn't realize this, a member of the New York Giants for a little while, though didn't get in a game with them. Mr. Ken Dunek. Ken, thanks for coming tonight.
Thanks, Jolly. Good to be here. The end's not so tight anymore, by the way. It's been 40-some years.
There we are. Ken publishes Jersey Man and Philly Man magazines. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Guys, we'll talk about the Eagles. Obviously, that's what this show is about, but there's a common thread you guys have that we might as well get to right away. Ken, when you were with the Stars, they had a quality control coach, basically a coach that goes through tape or finds tape for other coaches and works about 180 hours a week for about $10 a week, named Vic Fangio, who Damo wrote a great article about this week. When you were playing for the Stars, I know you were a tight end, and I guess he was one offense or defense. Did you have any idea Fangio would be what he is now?
No, really. Vic joined the team in '84 because there was some coaching turnover with the Stars, and he got an opportunity to be kind of a coaching intern, really, and a hardworking guy. He actually lived at the stadium for a while because, you know, I think they were only paying these guys $5 an hour back then, honest to God, and it was crazy. So you talk about paying your dues. He did it, and it paid off big for him, and I don't think anybody's that surprised because, Mora comes from the Vermeil tree and Fangio comes from the Mora tree, that the success has trickled down. So I'm happy to see all the success Vic has had for
But when you see a seed, when you see an orange and then you realize you saw the seed in the ground, some people can project, some people can't. I mean, who knows? But did Fangio have any qualities where you said, this is a guy to watch for down the road?
Well, he really didn't do much position coaching until 1985 when he took over a little bit of the linebacker role from Vince Tobin, who was the defensive coordinator. But, all those coaches were impressive. Yeah, I just mentioned Vince Tobin and Jim Skipper and Carl Tater Smith and Joe Marciano. Yeah, it was Joe Pendry went on to Alabama after with the Stars. So there were a lot of great coaches on that team, and the success doesn't surprise me at all, really.
All right, Damo, time for self-promotion for you. You wrote an article on Vic this week. It was fantastic. Tell us about it.
Thank you. I've known Vic as long as Kenny has, going back to the Stars, 1984 when he got there as a grad assistant from UNC. And it's just been the fact that his career has now come full circle.
Yep. And,
he wants to basically end it here. I mean, he's not ready to retire, but he likes this job because it's close to his family up in Dunmore. In an ideal world, he's here for 3, 4, whatever years, is running this defense, and then retires.
And that's where you're from. You're a Scranton boy. What did you have in commonality with him when you were talking about the old days? Any common friends or stuff like that?
Well, I hadn't talked to Vic in a long time until I started working on the Mills book. He spent 14 years with Sam Mills. Started with him, the 2 years he was with the Stars, coaching him actually for one of them. coached him all 9 years that they were together because he was the linebackers coach for Moore in New Orleans when they had the Dome Patrol. I mean, it might be one of the greatest linebacking corps ever. And then he became the defensive coordinator in Carolina and coached Sam there for 3 years when Sam left New Orleans. So, he, with any luck, I'm hoping he'll do the forward for the book because he just knows – nobody knows Sam. Nobody cared about him. One of the great stories about Vic, I think I told this on the air once, is that when he was the Denver head coach, they started 0-5.
Yep.
And they're really struggling. So the Saturday night before the 6th game, he puts together a video of Sam and shows it to the team and just, inspires the hell out of them. They win the game, and they finished 7-9 or something. But it ended a skid and kind of put them in a better situation.
Well, the Eagles sort of sent the Commanders, not a skid, a 2-game losing streak last Thursday night. Thursday night football, obviously short week, not a pretty game for Jalen Hurts. Not really a pretty game for anybody. The defense played well, but the Eagles obviously win 6 in a row. We'll look at the schedule and everything. Kenny, Saquon Barkley was fantastic in that game, as was Zach Bond, as was the edge guys, really maturing under Vic Fangio. What do you see in this offense and this team? 2 new coordinators, 6 wins in a row. We know the arc. Where do you see the Eagles going offensively and defensively?
Yeah, well, as Paul, I'm grateful that we're holding up a copy of Jersey Man magazine. It's got Saquon on the cover. Yep. By the way, we do the planning for this October issue in July, so we kind of got lucky because we didn't know how good Saquon was going to be. But so my impression of the Eagles, I think offensively, Hurts needs to be a little bit more consistent. I thought he struggled the last game, and when your quarterback struggles in this league, the team most likely struggles, although Barkley is putting together a resume for this year that has to have him in the MVP conversation. I would think he's the leading rusher in football, and if they're going to give the MVP to a non-quarterback, he's as good as any.
Yeah.
Defensively, it looks to me like the team is getting comfortable with the Fangio system. They're buying into it. Zach Bond is running all over the place.
Wow.
Jalen Carter's becoming a disruptor in the backfield. Doesn't always turn into sack numbers, but he's back there causing havoc. And it just seems like Cooper DeJean, I think, has added an element to the defensive backfield that lets him play more man-to-man. And, of course, Mitchell, their first-round draft pick, is playing great at corner. So, I'm high on the team as long as they can, maintain consistency and Hurts can play up to the level that you need to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I have high hopes for the Eagles.
And, Dom, we have a tight end here. Tight ends figured big time into the game on Thursday. Dallas Goedert a little bit, obviously, but Grant Calcaterra, a really timely fumble recovery, great hustle play. He's been good. Obviously, that's more providence than talent, but the hustle, the guys in the right place at the right time. What did that play mean to you? Because I think that play, you could say, turned the game around, along with Quinn's 4th and 2 call.
Yeah, I mean, after Quinn decided to go for it and they were stopped, I mean, it was still a 12-10 game.
Yep.
And, they recover that fumble, Goddard's fumble, and it's, who knows what happens. The fact that Calcaterra was alert enough to be there, come across, chase the play, and get that recovered. I mean, Calcaterra's quietly been one of, you look at people that they're not the most valuable players on this team, but a guy like him, a guy like Gainwell,
Three big carries in the fourth quarter.
You got to have guys like that, though.
Yeah,
you have to have guys like that fill in big spots.
You need a change-up for your fastball. I mean, we talk about the touches for Saquon, whether you're worried about it or not. It's nice to have somebody to alleviate that for sure.
Yeah, and Calcaterra, Calcaterra came into the league. He could catch passes. He caught him at Oklahoma and SMU. I mean, that's what he could do. What he couldn't do was block very well. And so the question was he going to ever get good enough so that he wouldn't be a liability? Well, he's really improved. I mean, he's not Dallas Goedert, but he can get in people's way. He can make the block. And they now have the rookie Wilson, who they kind of use as a quasi wide receiver, tight end. So I mean, they have people. Calcaterra has become a solid number 2 tight end on this team.
I got a question for you guys. We haven't really asked that this year. We're midway through the year now. Nick has obviously solidified himself. I still worry about him with a close call and a close game. Would he have gone for it in the 4th and 2? Who knows? But we know about the coordinators. We know about Q. We know about Carter. We know about Nolan Smith stepping up, Bryce Huff, the whole situation, BG, the offensive players. Kenny first, and then Paul, if you could. Give me an unsung hero on this team. Somebody who's playing well, contributing. Not Zach Bond, because he's now on the radar, but give me someone who's really under the radar, Kenny.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he's that much under the radar, but I think Cooper DeJean is an element to this defense that they haven't had in a while. You know, Fangio's a cover 2 guy, and you know, he doesn't like the blitz a whole lot. Well, he's blitzing more because they can play more man in the back because they got a guy like DeJean that can cover. I think that's added an element to the defense that we haven't had in a couple years. And of course, you know, Blankenship is a good safety. He's not a great cover guy, but he's a good safety. The rookie Mitchell, I think, is playing at what might be an all-pro standard already. So
McLaurin shut out the other night by him.
Yeah, I think those guys. And the other thing, Stoutland has done a really good job of piecing this line together through some injuries. You know, Mulata just came back.
Yeah.
You know, they're going with a new center this year. Becton has missed some time, and to piece those pieces together like he has, and not miss a beat, I think is pretty incredible. Which says a lot for him because he's one of the most respected offensive line coaches in the game.
Tomo, I want you to ask the same question, but Kenny brought up Reed Blankenship. Am I dreaming, or with 3 minutes left and the Eagles up by 1 score in every game this year, has Reed Blankenship picked off a pass, headed for the turf, and made a nice catch and rolled over and basically handed the Eagles the game?
Yeah, I mean, he was going to be my under-the-radar guy. He leads the team in interceptions, and they've all been very timely, like you said. And not only that, but he's in the right place at the right time. I mean, he was that 4th and 1 play you talked about, Dan Quinn going for it on 4th and 1, and Bond gets credit for the tackle, but Blankenship was the guy who came running into the backfield and basically forced Daniels to change his angle and allowed Zach Bond to make the tackle. So I mean, he was a big part of that. So yeah, I mean, he's developing that whole defense is just. I mean, they had Thursday night on a short week. They had 6 guys on that defense play every snap, including Jalen Carter, which is amazing. I mean,
good shape, obviously.
And I guess they felt, well, they got a long week coming up. The extra time, and it was a big game. But Reed was one of those guys that played 100% of the snaps and played really well.
You know who else made a great play in that? You mentioned the 4th and 1 stop, which was obviously big. The previous play was 3rd and 2, and Brandon Graham blew that play up. And then now there's a guy that he's on his last leg. It's going to be his last year. But when you see a veteran like that making a play like that, it inspires everybody else. He's
playing a lot more snaps than I ever expected this year, and I would guess even he expected. But they've needed him because Bryce Huff has not contributed much, and now I'm guessing he just wants to play as much. This is probably it for him. End of the year, he might say, one more year.
But listen, the defense is young, the offense is pretty young, but you need leadership. You need veterans on a team. Kenny, you played with plenty with the Eagles and the Stars back in the day. This team has BG, Lane Johnson, Slay on defense, obviously Jason Kelsey before this year. How important is the leadership factor with kids coming along to be able to go to a Lane, a BG, and say, what's up with this, what's up with that?
I think it's important, but I think the most important aspect is when you draft the right guys, character guys. Vermeil used to say, talent is important, but character makes you a champion. And that's true. You need a combination of both. So when you bring guys into the building that have a work ethic, even though they've got some money, they're still going to play like their life is on the line. And I think the Eagles have a few of those guys. I think that's pretty good fortune for the Eagles in the upcoming weeks. I'm hopeful anyway.
One of those young guys. This is the youngest team in the league. Their starters average 25 years of age. The only guy over 27 that's a starter is Slay.
Yep.
But the guy that has just amazed me is Quinyon Mitchell.
Well, you're talking about the defense. Lane Johnson, obviously.
Yeah, no, I'm talking defense.
Yep.
No, yeah, I was talking defense as far as the youngest group of starters. But, I mean, Mitchell's a guy, he came from Toledo. Guys that make a big impact at that position early on usually are guys from the Big Ten, the SEC, guys that have been playing in front of 100,000 every week and that are used to the pressure. This kid's from Toledo. I don't know what his top crowd was at Toledo, probably a little bit less than you played at Memphis State.
14,861.
Yeah, okay, there you go. But, last week he goes out and shuts down McLaurin.
Yep.
2 targets.
Yeah.
McLaurin had 2 targets. In the
and
game.
1 catch for 10 yards.
Not against him either. It was against Slade.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about much more about the Eagles. Nick Sirianni and the Eagles go out to Los Angeles to face the Rams at SoFi this Sunday. Eagles 3-point favorites. We'll look at the rest of the schedule. Baltimore in 2 weeks. Take a look around the NFL at much else. Ken Dunek has a Jersey Man magazine, Philly Man magazine. We'll find out about that. We're at the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff here from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. We thank Guy and Jerry and Chuck every week. We're glad to be here and glad you're with us. Back right after this.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
And we have a nice crowd here at the pub in Conshohocken. Great food, football, fun. We're here every Monday night, 6 to 7. We're also at Chickies and Pete's, 6 to 7 every Wednesday night. Frank Bialois is our guest on the Ice from Chickies and Pete's on Roosevelt Boulevard. Ken Dunek is our guest tonight, who publishes Jersey Man magazine and Philly Man magazine. Got some copies of Jersey Man.
And Miami Man.
And Miami Man. I thought is that still going on?
Miami Man is in hiatus right now,
Oh, okay.
Paul. Yeah, it's but Boston Man's still going strong, so we're in a few cities.
All right, tell us about all those and what they are, what they lead up to.
So 15 years ago, I had this idea to get in the magazine business without doing any research, and I quickly found out that why people were getting out of the business because it's very, very difficult. You guys know you're in print journalism your whole life, right?
Yeah.
So. But I thought it was a worthwhile idea, and we kind of muddled through the first 3 years until we came up with the concept of throwing these parties that these important business people could come and network at, and that's really made the difference in our business. We're a profitable business. We do 24 parties a year for our clients.
Wow.
And I'm getting a little old for that, so my daughter Ashley handles the brunt of that duty now. But
is she one of the triplets?
She is not. She was the oldest one, and if she wasn't one of the triplets, there would be no Ashley because there wouldn't have been a fourth one. But and my triplet daughters, Jamie, Taylor, who are nurses in the city, they help us when they can. One of the triplets, Alexandra, who's a cancer survivor, by the way, helps us with the magazine. So I'm very proud that, and my wife Terry's involved. So it is a family business, and I'm blessed because, listen, I'm 67 years old. Most guys don't get to see their kids every day. I get to see 2 of my girls almost every day, and 2 of them on the weekend. So I don't take that for granted.
Fill me in on it. I'm kind of missing a connection here. You have the magazine, you have the parties.
Right.
Where's the synergy? I don't get it.
Well, the synergy is the parties pay for the magazine.
Okay.
Because we have an annual fee network where you can come to attend these parties. It's $1,500 a year. We have 320 members in that group, and a real quick funny story. We would throw parties initially to try to get people to print advertise. They would come, they were very small. They would call me the next day and they would say, I love the parties, I want to keep coming, but my company won't print advertise. Oh. So I'm smarter than I look, and I said, well, you know what, there's something to be said for this. So we designed a club to be able to attend these parties, and that was a deal the biggest deal that we had going for us, and it remains to this day our most popular thing. So that's really the success of Jersey Man and Philly Man as the business group and the networking.
Good stuff. Damo, Eagles look at L.A. this weekend, Sunday Night Football. How ironic do you guys, and Damo, you first think it is, the Eagles have been flexed out of two different spots this year because they kind of started slow. They weren't fun to watch, apparently, for the nation, blah, blah, blah. Now we're hearing about maybe the Commanders game on the road, getting flexed back in. I guess the moral of the story is the NFL is not for long. It's like you're like a pinball machine.
Yeah.
And the Eagles are obviously on the right side of the draw now, huh?
Yeah, right now they're doing very well.
Yep.
These next two games are going to be interesting. I mean, beating Washington was huge for them. I mean, it enables them to take control of the division.
Game and a half with obviously the tiebreaker.
Keeps them right on the heels of Detroit in the battle for the number one seed. But these next two games on the road, I mean, the Rams are not that good. They're 5-5. They've won 4 out of their last 5, but
they're getting healthier though.
Yeah,
but they're dangerous. I think
they've got their wide receiving core is going to be a challenge for the corners, but their defense, I think, is going to have a real problem stopping Saquon and the Eagles' pass.
Aaron Donald doesn't have a tackle this year. Surprising. Did he retire or something?
I think he did.
Yes, he did.
Big, I mean, obviously the Eagles beat him here last year, and no one player is a football team. It's a team sport. But, Kenny, without Aaron Donald there, it's a significantly different bunch on defense, isn't it?
I think so. I do think McVay is a really innovative coach, and Stafford's the real deal at quarterback. So they've got some weapons. And by the way, Eagles open as a 3-point favorite for anybody that cares about those things, which is a rather low line for.
They opened at 2.5. They went up to 3 today. That's
for a team that's playing as well as the Eagles are. So the odds makers expect it to be a challenge, and so do I.
Yeah, and then the week after they've got Baltimore. So these two games will tell us a lot about this team.
8-2. We know about the schedule the rest of the way. Couple tough games, then it gets kind of easy. Playoffs. Jim Moore reference, Ken. We talk about the Eagles being a Super Bowl contender. I say it's pretty simple. The Eagles are a Super Bowl contender. Whether they win the Super Bowl or not leaves to be desired. But Detroit's no lock. They're very good. But to say that the Eagles couldn't beat them on any given day, as well as a couple other teams, is ridiculous. How excited, how optimistic are you right now, Damo?
Well, if they stay healthy, I mean, there's no reason. I mean, they can play with anybody, including Detroit. So, I think with them, it's all going to be a matter of health, and it's one of the reasons you don't have the same feelings I do about Saquon's carries, but I mean they've got to monitor him at some point here because right now he's on a pace for like 374 touches, and if you don't have to push the envelope with him, you don't. But unfortunately, they've needed every bit of what he's been able to give them so far.
And that's mostly in the second half. Eagles still slow starting. I got a feeling it's because Kellen Moore's scripted plays are more to diagnose the defense than to attack with the offense. Can you play with a guy in Philadelphia named Wilbert Montgomery that a lot of people think is the greatest running back in Eagle history, certainly at the dinner table if they don't think he's the best? How big a deal is the carries load today? Is it different than it was before? It seems like athletes as far as pitchers, running backs, have kind of it's not as tough as they used to be. Am I missing something?
Well, I'll tell you a story about Wilbert. I can remember going into Otho Davis's training room after a game and looking at Wilbert, who was hooked up to an IV after the game. He had dark circles under his eyes, and honest to God, he looked like he was in intensive care in a hospital. running backs take such a brutal beating in every game. People don't understand that these guys, and the players are bigger and faster today than they've ever been. So, Wilbert was fairly slight back in the day as far as running back. He certainly wasn't bulked up like a Walter Payton, but it's a tough position, and those guys get knocked around. And I'd like to see Gainwell get a few more carries just as a rest, and I think that's going to happen more and more as the season goes on because you got to protect Saquon. He's the bread and butter right now.
Tom, if there's something the Eagles have forgotten about, I mean, they're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but they've evolved. The bell curve is going up with a new offense, a new defense. Devontae Smith is get a catch in the fourth quarter, sometimes a couple big plays, but in the first half, Devontae Smith would as well be the Maytag repairman. What's going on with that?
Well, I mean, right now, their run play percentage is the highest in the league.
Yep.
Over the last 6 games, it's like
60-40.
68%.
Yep.
I mean, there's only, they're not throwing the ball a whole lot, which doesn't, when you spread out all the weapons they have, I mean, he's making big catches for him. The quantity's not going to be there for him. It's not going to be there for A.J. Brown this year. I mean, even you look in the red zone this year, and that's one of the areas they need to improve going forward because I think right now they're like 11th in the league. They're 1 for 3 in the red zone on last Thursday. Yeah, touchdowns. That's what matters.
Yep.
But when they get in the red zone, they're running the ball 75% of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, A.J. Brown's got 1 red zone reception this season.
That's amazing.
And what teams are going to do, they did this last year, they're going to make them throw the ball. I mean, if they get down to the 1-yard line, sure, then you got the tush push. You got Barkley to use, but you've got to be able to throw the ball at some point in the red zone.
It's interesting. They have the best back in the league, or one of the 2 best backs in the league, and they rarely use him on the goal line.
Yeah.
Sirianni was asked about it in his presser today and said in the red zone, you want to move forward, not backward.
Right.
Obviously, you could lose with anything, but a quarterback sneak, you're not necessarily going to lose. Is Jalen, we talk about the load on Barkley. Jalen's running the ball a lot. I mean, I think Jalen's played pretty good football. Certainly a big closer. Do they need to give the ball to Barkley down the 1-2 yard line a little bit more than they have been?
Well, I mean, the tush push is so effective.
Right.
I don't think if Jalen felt this was like wearing on him, he would say something. I don't think it is. I mean, it's hard to believe when you've got that much poundage on top of you. But I don't think that's a big problem for him. When he runs with the ball away from the goal line, he's done a pretty good job of not taking hits. He gets out of bounds, unless it's there have been some times where he's just put his head down and gone for it. But he slides whenever he can. I don't. They use that. What you saw them go to that pitch to Barkley on a fake tush push. You might see some more of that just to keep teams honest, but why go away from it?
Kenny called me yesterday afternoon. I was sitting watching, I don't remember what, and Ken Dunek, I saw on my phone. He called up, he said Robert Lopez, who I'd never heard of, had just shanked a tee shot at the Bermuda Open. He said he reminded him of a young Jake Elliott, who's shanking everything nowadays.
Wait, I would never say that about a fellow Memphis alum, Jolly. You got that all wrong.
It's weird, though, Ken. I mean, never mind Justin Tucker in Baltimore also. But Jake Elliott, I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to have the yips now and then.
How about McPherson last night?
McPherson, who's been very good.
Yeah.
Jake hadn't had a great year. He's missed some long field goals. Obviously, 2 field goals and an extra point the other day. Blip on the radar screen, cause for concern, what?
I think it's a blip. I think he's got a resume of being productive and – a coup for Atlanta the other day. He's a great kicker.
Yep.
He missed a couple short ones. It's going to happen. Yeah, you guys play golf, I assume, from time to time, and you stand over a putt. You just got a little nervous feeling, and it turns into a yip, and that can happen to kickers too. I don't know. I wanted to mention. Did you guys see that Irvin Fryer came out today and said he didn't think Jalen had the arm strength to be effective in the red zone, or something?
He said he has trouble putting in the tight windows.
Yeah,
Listen,
I disagree.
Well, the one throw he made. And I hate to give credit, but
you can't go by one throw.
But you got to give credit to the opponents sometime. And Trevon Diggs of the Cowboys made a great play on that throw by Jalen. It wasn't the greatest throw in the world, but not a lot of corners are going to pick that ball. Yeah. I think to pick that one play was ridiculous, Tomo.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to give the defensive player credit.
Yep.
And that was Diggs is a terrific corner, and he made a terrific play. I mean, he could have let him a little bit, but that has nothing to do with arm strength. He probably needed to let it go a split second earlier.
I think a bigger concern for Jalen is decision making. He seems to panic very quickly instead of stepping up in the pocket and goes through his reads. And it was prevalent last year because they didn't have a great offensive scheme, and he would look at one receiver and then bail right every time. And teams caught on to that eventually.
He does not seem to feel comfortable checking down. No, I don't know why. I mean,
over the middle and checking down. And
I mean, even if you looked at the 43-yard catch and run by Barkley, that was a struggle. I mean, he looked like he wasn't quite sure how to throw that ball.
But I'd rather have a guy hold the ball too long than throw it and chuck it to the opponent.
Yeah.
One turnover in 6 weeks is pretty good. We'll take.
Okay, I wanted to get back to Jalen when we get back. I just wanted to say something.
We'll get back to Jalen when we get back. Take a look around the NFL. The Dolphins are popping champagne. We'll tell you why. You should know already if you're a football fan. The Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff continues from the pub. Stay with us, folks.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
And welcome back to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Don't forget you can watch the show live at WBCBSports.com and YouTube Live by searching WBCB Sports. Damo, you wanted to say something about Mr. Hurts?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen has not been perfect this year. I agree with Ken on some of the things. You know, his decision-making has been occasionally a little suspect, going through his reads. But here's the bottom line is he's 7th in the league in passing, 4th in yards per attempt, and 6th in completion percentage. All career highs for him. Running, I mean, he's got 44 rushing first downs right now and is on pace for a career high in that. So, he's got room for improvement, which is good, because I think he can reach that. But sometimes we nitpick.
And he's improved his ball security here the last 4 or 5 games.
When he decides to work on something, he clearly knew he had to eliminate the turnovers.
Do we ask for perfection too much? I mean, obviously fans are extremely passionate here, extremely knowledgeable, but I think perfection is a goal of some, which obviously is not reachable. Are we going a little too far in that direction with Jalen?
I think everybody looks at Patrick Mahomes and guys like this, and that's the gold standard right now. That's the comparison. There's only one Patrick Mahomes. I don't think Jalen Hurts is Patrick Mahomes, but I think he's a very good quarterback that could win a Super Bowl. So that's my opinion on that.
In this town, and you know well because you played with Jaws. I mean, quarterbacks are scrutinized like nobody's business, and they wanted him benched. Jaws might be the best quarterback in the franchise's history.
People wanted Elliott cut and blah, blah, blah. It just calm down. 6 wins in a row. They're doing fine. Yeah. I think they'll do fine on Sunday, and we will see. Trying to get that #1 seed. As we take a look at the rest of the NFL, Doug Peterson survived today. Going to survive tomorrow, Damo?
Well, it's a bye week for him, so
Yep.
I guess they feel there's no hurry. But I'm kind of thinking that he will not coach another game in Jacksonville.
Did you see his press conference today?
Nope.
It was
No.
pretty sad.
Yeah.
I mean, he almost looked like a guy that was waiting for the guillotine to
Yeah.
drop. And they asked him if he had a meeting scheduled with the owner. He kind of hemmed and hawed. And unfortunately, Doug is going to catch the wrath of that, and that's a shame because he's a good guy and he's a good football coach.
We won a
Just in the
Super
wrong
Bowl
spot.
here. Obviously, Mac Jones didn't much. Trevor Lawrence is disappointing. I don't know how else to ask this. Why is Jacksonville so bad?
I mean, Trent, the guy that's escaping criticism
Balky?
here is Balky, the GM. I mean, that's not a terribly talented team. I mean, Doug deserves criticism for the fact that Trevor Lawrence seems to have hit a wall, and I'm not sure why. But they're not talented, and they were 2 years ago looked like they were going to be one of the elite teams in the AFC, and it just ended. They haven't really replenished a lot of the talent they've lost over the last couple of years. So that's but he's going to be the victim. And he'll find. I don't know if he wants to find another job or not, but he'll eventually.
Do you think he'll be a head coach again, or do you think he'll
think
wind
so.
up?
You got a
That's
Super Bowl on your
yeah.
resume. You're always going to find a job somewhere. Now the question is, I mean, the
In
word,
the
the
NFL?
word down there is,
Yeah?
I think so. But the word down there is that could be a landing spot for Belichick. Belichick wants back in this league badly.
He'll get there.
Dallas supposedly, if Mike.
I would love to see that dynamic.
would
Jerry
Dallas-
Jones and Belichick in the same room.
That's why Jacksonville
Yeah.
probably is a better fit for
Right.
him.
Why would Jerry Jones fire McCarthy in the middle of a great season like this? I mean, they're
didn't
playing
say he won't
Houston.
fire
tonight.
him until the season's over.
He won't, but why? I mean, Dallas
mean,
is a
why?
dead team walking. The Jets are a dead team walking. The Bears are a dead team walking. Jacksonville, we know about the coaching carousel. Kenny, there's other carousels. You used to be on the Giants roster. I didn't want to talk about this much tonight, but Daniel Jones has met the executioner because they have an injury clause in his contract where if he's hurt, they got to pay him for next year. So they just shoved him aside now for Tommy DeVito. How big of a disaster are the Giants, and is Dayball going to survive up there?
I don't think. I mean, I think Dayball should survive because this isn't his fault. But getting back to Mike McCarthy, what good is it going to do Jerry Jones to fire Mike McCarthy now? It's not going to affect the team. They're no good. They've lost their starting quarterback. They've lost their edge. They're just no
the
good.
attention and blame on.
Should
on
fire
Dallas.
himself.
That's true. That's a great point with Jerry Jones. But there's a lot of coaches in trouble. Antonio Pierce with the Raiders is on his last legs, and Eberflus. I was almost surprised that he survived today. But you talk about a bad luck team. How about those losses that blocked field goals and Hail Marys, and Eberflus got to be sitting at home at night going, "What did I do wrong?"
All right, so if you're Belichick, you're probably having a choice of 5 or 6 teams depending on control, money, assistance, blah, blah, blah. Dom, where does Belichick wind up next year?
Well, say Dallas is open. I can't. Why would he want to work for Jerry Jones? I just can't.
And
imagine.
that roster.
Yeah, I would say Jacksonville. I mean, for a number of reasons, including the weather, but. I mean, his 24-year-old girlfriend probably would like it down there. He's got a. I mean, I think at least there, Trevor Lawrence is. I don't know what's going on. I mean, now he's hurt, but he can be an elite quarterback. I mean, he's shown that. So if you've got that, at least you've got a building block in place to build the rest of your team around.
I don't think it's about money. I think it's about a control and can he go somewhere. For example,
Wants to break the
people have
record.
always asked about if Sirianni got in trouble, Lurie's ties with Boston. Lurie would never hire Bill Belichick because they're not going to do the Chip Kelly thing again. They're not going to send Howie to the back. They're just not. They're not going to give control of the franchise away.
Yeah.
So, you can put that out of your mind, but. Yeah, I think, interestingly, I think Chicago might be a great fit for Belichick.
Yeah.
Windy City,
Something
defensive
tells me it's
mindset.
impossible to win there. The quarterback, I think they drafted the wrong guy in Caleb Williams, who they're going to be stuck with for a couple of years now. We will see. But, Kenny, in Florida, you go to Jacksonville, which is in the northern part of the state, a little trouble happening. Go further south, and you have a team today popping champagne corks
Yes.
as the Dolphins of 72
That's right.
remain the only undefeated regular season team ever after Kansas City loses to my buddy Chris's Buffalo Bills What'd you think of that game? Pretty good game, huh?
Loved it. Buffalo always beats Kansas City in the regular season, and Kansas City gets in the playoffs. But Josh Allen, what an athletic kid, and that run he made at the end of the game was spectacular. That was a fun. I'm a red zone guy because I love the continuous action.
Sure.
But there are games that you have to watch, and I turned the red zone off to watch the entire Buffalo Kansas City game because it was that good.
You watched games yesterday or red zone, Damo?
Games.
You prefer that?
Yeah.
What if there's no real good game on? Do you ever go to the red zone and say?
I do not. No.
Never.
I mean,
Wow.
I'm just lazy.
But so am I. That's why I watch the red zone. It's constant information.
How about that Steeler game, guys? 6 field goals by Pittsburgh. They beat Baltimore without a touchdown. Lamar Jackson. Damo, this is a prime example of where coaching really matters. Obviously, Harbaugh and Tomlin are terrific coaches. I could have told you the score of the game on Tuesday. I just couldn't tell you who was going to win. Tomlin plays a zone against Lamar Jackson, which means the eyes are on him. They don't turn their backs. They have very good players. The scheme is excellent. And they give him trouble. It's kind of his kryptonite. Mm-hmm. Lamar Jackson can win MVP after MVP, the same way Josh Allen can beat Mahomes over and over again. But to be truthful, it only matters if you do it in January, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they not only stopped him. I mean, they did a good job on Henry, too.
Yeah, very good job.
So, Pittsburgh's a team that nobody was really, 3-4 weeks ago, if we had done a, real or fraud, we'd probably all agree they're frauds. Now, not so much.
Beat Washington?
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh's got the key to Lamar Jackson because if you watch, they rush outside, they keep him boxed in. He's got to step up in the pocket, and they have a spy.
Yeah.
So he can't go anywhere. And he was frustrated again yesterday with that. They've got a great game plan against him.
Yeah.
They do. And yesterday was an interesting day. We're starting to hit the stretch run. When is this? Whatever the stretch is. I'm a huge horse racing fan, Ken. Obviously, you can see the turn on a racetrack. Where's the turn in an NFL season? 11 games, 12 games. The byes aren't done yet. Are you thinking playoffs yet? Is this the middle of the season? What's it to you?
Well, I think right now teams are, still jockeying for position. I think the last 4 or 5 games of the season is really the playoff rush, and by then most of the byes are gone, and teams can concentrate on the remaining part of their schedule. They're normally division games, a lot of them, so that means a lot. So I would say the last 4 or 5 games of the year is where the push really comes to shove, and teams kick it up a notch to get in the playoffs.
Damo, betting-wise, I know you're not much of a betting guy, but there's an angle in football that works all the time. You're going to think it sounds ridiculous. It's not. It works all the time. Where after a team loses its first game after a long streak or being undefeated, they play bad the next week. They have a hangover week. They rarely bounce back. They do. Kansas City goes to Carolina this week, who's played a lot better. They're still Carolina. Kansas City's an 11-point favorite. It would not shock me one bit to see Kansas City lose to Carolina this week.
Wow.
If not play, they'll probably win a close game, but I don't think they'll play a pretty game. Have you ever heard of that angle? What do you think of that?
It would shock the heck out of me if they lost to Carolina.
Not
Carolina's
one
really
bit.
bad.
Granted,
the thing is, Kansas City, they're not going to cover because they play everybody a one-score game. They just that's the kind of team they are right now. But no, they're gonna. Andy's gonna recover fine, and they'll. That was a nice win for Sean yesterday. The problem is, as Sean has found out, there's the playoffs, and that's a different story. They've lost. What are they? 4-1 against Andy. He's 4-1 against Andy in regular season. 0-3 or 0-4 in the playoffs. So.
All right, Kenny, we've gone over who the bad teams are in the NFL. We know who the good teams are. We know the bad teams are. There's a lot of teams swimming in the middle, some who've had good fortune, some who haven't. Mm-hmm. Who's the most tortured team in the NFL? I have somebody in mind. Who do you think?
What do you mean by torture?
Somebody who should be better than they are.
Well, I thought Houston would be a little bit better than they are this year. I thought, coming off of that rookie season for the quarterback, I thought that they would step up. Now, they've had some issues.
On the line.
I'm still a big D'Amico Ryans fan. I like him. I like the energy he brings down there. Yeah. So if I had to pick one team and actually I thought the Bears would be better this year. I thought they had a great defense last year. That hasn't shown up. The rookie quarterback obviously is having his struggles. So those are 2 teams that come to mind for me.
Cincinnati, Damo, to you?
No, you know what? San Francisco.
Absolutely.
They've got McCaffrey back. I thought that would make all the difference in the world. They're healthy again on offense, and it didn't make any difference. They lost to Seattle yesterday.
And we're moving for seed. Detroit is very, very good. A lot of people say the Eagles don't have the talent of Detroit. A lot of people think they do. When we come back, I kind of want to go over the Lions and the Eagles. Who's the better team? Who's the better coach? Obviously, any given Sunday, we know what can happen, and that's anything. That's the magic of the NFL. We're at the magic of the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Plenty of people here. Love it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back. Final segment of the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff follows this.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, care workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
And we're back. Final segment of the Monday Night Kickoff. My wife, Amy, actually told me yesterday, she said, honey, it looks like the Lions are going to lose both their coordinators at the end of the year, Domo. Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, just like the Eagles lost theirs. Look at the Lions roster, compare them to the Eagles. Obviously, anybody can make the Super Bowl. The Lions are the biggest threat to be the #1 seed and take the Eagles out. How good are they? How good is their coaching? Eagles don't play them this year. Give me a little Lions scouting report.
Well, I mean, they're a complete team. They've got an outstanding head coach.
Yep.
They've got a quarterback that's playing some of the best football of his life.
And he played the worst football of his life last Sunday, and they still came back.
Yeah. I mean, they've got a pair of running backs that are on fire. Solid offensive line, great receivers. The only thing they're missing is they had probably the best edge rusher in the league in Aiden Hutchinson before he got hurt, but they've weathered that pretty well.
Kenny, when you were playing and then you had a guy get hurt, obviously everybody gets hurt in football. Your stars get hurt sometimes. Your team takes a dive, but you have to play out the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Emotionally, obviously, everything's different. Every situation is different. Can you remember a situation in college, in the NFL, USFL, where somebody got hurt and it just kind of popped a balloon with your team?
Every team that I was on, we were lucky enough to be championship teams. There was always the next man up philosophy. I can tell you that just because you haven't heard much about a guy doesn't mean he can't step in and do a great job in a spot. I can remember we had a couple running backs at Memphis, and one of them was Eddie Hill, and he wound up being a second-round draft choice for the Rams. Really fast player, good player. And the guy behind him was Richard Locke. Well, Eddie Hill goes down. Everybody's panicking. Richard Locke comes in and rushes, I think, for 200 yards the first game. So just because you haven't heard of these guys, it might mean they haven't had the opportunity to showcase their talent. There's no bad players in the NFL. Some are better than others. Some are superstars for a reason. But if they're paying you to put that uniform on, you can play. And it doesn't surprise me when anybody steps in and does well.
Dama, we're big college football fans, and we don't talk college much, but might as well near the end of the season. There's 4 undefeated teams left. Oregon almost lost, but didn't on Saturday night. BYU, and then 2 teams that are traditionally unbeaten at this time of year, Indiana and Army. Both who face big situations this week. Indiana plays at Ohio State. Army plays at Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium. Either of these teams have a shot to stay undefeated this weekend?
Yeah, Indiana does. They're an incredible story,
Yep.
Jelly. I mean, the way that, and only in today's college football can you do what they did.
Yeah,
I mean,
the coach brought half
they
the
were
team with
awful.
him.
They got a coach who
Signetti
brought
from JMU.
Yeah, who brought
Yep.
JMU's players, and then went and got some other players from across the country.
But you bring JMU's players. You figure I'm bringing JMU's players, James Madison, to Indiana to play Ohio State and
Yeah.
Michigan and Oregon and the rest of the Big Ten. So what? A lot more than so what, huh?
Yeah, indeed.
And
Listen, I did JMU games for a number of years down
Really?
there. It's a very competitive school. They were in the CAA. They were playing Elon and some of those teams until they made the move to FCS. But it's a really great football environment down there. But if you look around the league, we just talked about Mitchell from Toledo. There are great players at every level of college football. Just you don't have to be at Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State to be a great football player. There's plenty of them out there.
And Mitchell was talking with Billy Wardell, my partner on the Jolly and the Loon on Friday. He said that Alabama tried to poach Mitchell his senior year, and Mitchell could have gone to Alabama but stayed at Toledo. That kind of confidence, that's pretty cool. I'm staying at Toledo. I'm going to be a number 1 pick.
Yeah.
They'll see me. Confidence is a big part of football, isn't it, Ken?
Yeah. The fact I've never heard that story. They turned down Alabama to stay at Toledo, but I love that. In this day and age of the portal and transfers and all the NIL and all the nonsense, isn't it great to see a kid stick it out for 4 years and play at a small school and have the success? Yeah, I think that's great.
And I think NFL teams look at, Nick knows Toledo's coach. They coached together at Mount Union, I believe. They look at stuff like that. It tells you about a kid's maturity, about his confidence, about a lot of things. So I don't know whether it influenced them taking him as opposed to the kid from Alabama they also were thinking about it. But he's
Don't
turned out
forget
to be a
Sam
great
Mills
one.
from Montclair State, that
Yeah.
football powerhouse, Montclair State.
The Red Hawks, right? All right, guys, here's a little trivia question for you. I was talking the other night on a podcast and got this question. It's an amazing question. The NFL draft, there were 7 players, Ken, in the 1974 draft that made the Football Hall of Fame. 5 of them were drafted by the same team. Not actually drafted. 4 were drafted by the same team. 1 was an undrafted free agent who also made the Hall of Fame. Can either of you guys name the team? That won't be that big a problem.
In
But the players,
1974, I was a junior in high school, so
4 Hall of Famers in 1 draft.
I'm going. Is it Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But which 4?
Bradshaw,
Nope.
Renfro?
Nope. Who's Renfro?
Mean Joe,
no,
Mean
I'm
Joe
thinking-
Green.
Nope.
No. Stallworth.
Stallworth, 1. Second round pick.
Swan won from that draft, too.
Swan was the first round pick. Yep. 21, by the way. Rager, Swan, both the 21st pick. Slightly different outcomes. We're looking at an offensive lineman from Wisconsin.
Wasn't Mike Webster?
Yes, it was.
Oh, Mike Webster.
Mike Webster, a
didn't realize he was
toothless
from
220-pound linebacker from the football powerhouse of Kent State.
Oh, that's Jack Lambert.
Jack Lambert.
Yeah. By the way, so I got to play against Pittsburgh, and I was in awe. It was one of my first preseason games, and I'm on the field against these guys, and I snuck up on Jack Lambert. I ear-holed him. I got him really good right time. I have never been cursed out like that in my life. This guy, and he has no teeth, so he's spitting at me. And he's cursed me out back to the huddle. But that was my claim to fame. I ear-hurled Jack Lambert.
Well, they made those 4 picks, and they figured afterwards the roster wasn't stacked enough. They'd already won a Super Bowl or 2, and time to get some undrafted free agents that may be able to barely make the roster and squeak in. I don't even know where this guy went to college, but number 31 made the Hall of Fame as an undrafted free agent named Donnie Shell.
Donnie Shell.
Pretty nice haul in 1 year.
Yeah, I'll say.
It's really an amazing
How about
thing.
the fact that the Steelers have had 3 coaches in our lifetime, right?
That is ridiculous.
In this day and age, that's also a testimony. Hey, listen, when you send that message to the team, it's like hey, guys, I'm going to be here. You're not. You listen to me. A lot of teams could do well by that philosophy, I'm telling you.
Domo, how long, I mean, we know about Sean Payton who just left. Obviously, everybody leaves. Andy's been there, maybe stays to the end of Mahomes, maybe not. How long do Harbaugh and Tomlin go? Tomlin looks like he almost left last year, signed a couple-year extension. You burn out at some point. You want to live a life that has other components to it. How far do Tomlin and Harbaugh go?
I think Tomlin will be there as
long as he wants to.
As long as he wants to, and I think he wants to for, I can't see him saying to himself right now that he's burned out. So he seems to have the temperament to kind of do that job and not, it's funny. I remember Jim Moore telling me a long time ago, 10 years, that's it. 10 years in one place, you got to move on. But that was before free agency. Well, that was before free agency. His point was at the time that, players get tired of hearing you, the same voice. Now your roster turns over so many times that you stay there. He's not going to get fired unless something really, really bad happens. So,
well, John Harbaugh's coaching against his brother in a couple weeks, the Harbaugh Bowl. Kenny, you're going to be part of something in January over at the Sports Writers Banquet in Jersey. The Stars' 40th anniversary team is being honored. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
I know you're going to go
40 years. Wow.
Tell us about anything you know about that night, who may be coming, and how cool that'll be just to have that happen.
Well, I've been to that dinner many times. It's a great dinner. All the celebrities show up. From the Stars, Jim Mora has said he's coming back. Hopefully Vic Fangio will be around. He can sneak out on I think it's a Tuesday or Thursday
Monday
night. To come to the dinner. I think it's January 16th, right? I do believe that Chuck Fusina, of course, our Penn State quarterback, will be there. John Bunning, I believe, is coming down. Ex-Eagle John Bunning. So the Stars will be well representative, and it's amazing how people remember that team. And I still get emails and Twitter posts, and people love the Philadelphia, and they still do, which is really flattering.
We got about 1 minute remaining, and Sean Lundell will be with the Stars. He'll be here December 16th. Philadelphia Stars as put together. Obviously, they put some guys in the NFL. Some guys came from the NFL. If you guys were expansion team that year in the NFL, played a 16-game schedule, how many do you think you would have won?
Well, people forget that Sam Mills, William Fuller, Bart Oates,
about
Sean
20
Landetta, Irv
Bryant.
Eaton, everybody that was successful on the Stars either had a successful NFL career before or after the Stars. So the Stars would have been competitive. I can tell you that.
They would have won a couple games, Tomo?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I believe so. Although, Jim, it's the irony of, I don't know if you remember the USFL NFL trial.
The what?
The USFL
NFL
sued the NFL.
Oh, the suit, yeah.
Jim Mora testified at that trial, was asked whether his team could beat. He was already playing. He was already coaching the Saints at the time. Said no.
Yes.
But that's
what else is he going to say?
Yeah, exactly.
He's employed by the NFL.
But the thing about that team is players. Four coaches went on to be NFL head coaches.
Wow.
4 front office people went on to be GMs.
Wow.
And about, I want to say, almost 24 of their players from the '84 championship team ended up playing in the NFL.
Like many things, the league may not have survived, but they provided a bunch of players and coaches and executives to the NFL. Kenny, it's been a real pleasure. We love having you tonight here at the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. Love to have you back next year. Good luck with the magazines, with the dinner. Good luck in everything in life.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate being here.
Good to have you.
Yeah.
Damo, play the Rams Sunday Night Football. Let's do it again next week.
You betcha.
All right, Chris Irmer produced this fine program. Gus Barber back at the station. Thank you very much. Thanks to the people who came out, listened, and watched tonight. For Chris Irmer, for Paul Domowitch, for Ken Dunek, I'm Paul Jolovitz for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff, saying have a great week and go Eagles.
You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 W297.